All right, hello everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Pro Wrestling Logic, and we are here with the TNT series, Tuesday Night Titans series, which we are going through episode by episode. For those that are interested, I think there's going to be a total of 3 or 4 episodes missing when the series is complete. The year in review episodes we're not doing because all of the content that would be covered there would be covered here. There is one episode missing from the WWE Network that I could not find. But other than that, it's going to be the most comprehensive uh, Tuesday Night Titans audio review series available online, at least that I'm aware. In any event, we go into the 9th of August edition of the program, and for the year 1985, we open with Captain Lou Albano. Albano basically here to fill a little bit of time as he spends a good deal of time talking about his charges over the year. George the Animal Steel, the tag team champions, the U.S. Express, and his involvement with muscular sclerosis and all of those things. He talks about wanting to be the manager of the year, which I'm sure is an award that is very prestigious, although I don't remember the turnout of that process. They then have Lou Albano and Johnny Valiant discussing the merits of the Macho Man, and they're debating on who's going to get him, which manager it might be. Albano here, and I mentioned this a few reviews ago, that Albano actually, in fact, had said that he saw something in Savage he didn't like. He failed to elaborate on what exactly that was, but he does go on about not thinking that that's the best of options. Valiant says he's not sure, but he thinks that he has Savage in the bag, or at least close to it, and that he is pretty well secured that would make things better for him. Brutus Beefcake, who is still a heel, he is a heel for the first 2+ years of his run before becoming the barber. But here, Beefcake dressed in sunglasses and leopard print and still doing the quasi stripper thing. Talks about being disrespected by the fans. Talks about feeling that he should be treated better. They do some interesting stuff where they're teasing the teaming with Greg Valentine. Actually, we've seen a couple of matches on TNT where he teams with Valentine. Valentine, who at this point is managed by Jimmy Hart. I'm not quite sure where the full shift to Johnny Valiant happens, but it does happen eventually to formulate the dream team. And Beefcake goes into a enhancement talent matchup with Keith Diamond. That is obviously a one-sided affair, with Beefcake using very basic moves. It strikes me how Beefcake, never a great ring tactician, but always has a tremendous presence that can't be denied. I'm actually interested if he's still wrestling. I knew he was a year or two ago, but what with being laid up for almost a year and a half, I don't know whether he was given that opportunity or not to still be wrestling. But anyway, the match for Beefcake is very one-sided, as is to be expected. He uses a high knee and then does use the sleeper to get the victory. Uh, you know, we then see Valiant laughs at Hillbilly Jim and Uncle Elmer. Eventually, Valiant and Beefcake do take on the Hillbillies around the circuit. Also, if you go back a little bit, Hillbilly Jim was put out of action with a broken leg by Beefcake in story, and so wanting to get some revenge there is to be expected. Roddy Piper recounts his match with Paul Orndorff, of which they show a little bit of footage here, and I think this is from Maryland, although they don't actually say, but I'm pretty sure this is from the Maryland, D.C. market area. Obviously, I'm when I go back and do full house show reviews, I will get to these matches in full. But suffice to say, this one, not not the best of options. Just a very basic match, brawling around. Of course, Orndorff still has that 25 by this point $1,000 bounty on the head, placed by Bobby Heenan, and virtually anyone will try and get it. Roddy Piper then goes to a dungeon where he shows off various torture devices and beings that he is torturing. This is just creepy. Has to be seen to be believed. I'm not sure that I can do it justice, but basically it's a Halloween dungeon in the middle of August. Um, Piper locking people down there and causing them to suffer, and not the least bit upset by this. Mean Gene goes into the jungles of wherever, searching for Corporal Kirshner. Finally finding him. Kirshner holding on to a gun, holding on to a knife. Again, they show a lot of his military style training. We spoke last week and can continue this week of talking about, you know, talking about some of the challenges of coming to the World Wrestling Federation and all of that. Kirshner obviously is a Sergeant Slaughter knockoff, and that's pretty easy to see. Then we see a segment, or a couple of them actually, in a match interspersed with S.D. Jones. Of course, Jones, who is a perennial enhancement talent, one step above complete enhancement talent at this point, talks a great deal about his upbringing in Antigua in the West Indies and the challenges therein. How he didn't really have a lot of space, didn't have a lot to count on, had to do a lot of struggling. He comes across as a genuinely nice guy. Never had the chance to interact with him myself, but for the length of time and the impact he had during the early era, I would have liked to have that opportunity. He then talks about loving kids, loving his son, tells some stories about his son. Just a really wholesome experience. In the interim there, Charlie Fulton wrestles with SD. SD does get a rare victory in this match. The match is all the way back from November of '84, so you know they're filling time here. Bobby Heenan brings out a briefcase full of cash, which is to be the bounty on the head of one Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Many individuals, Cowboy Bob Orton, Roddy Piper, King Kong Bundy, anyone and everyone will challenge for that. And then they go to a very interesting segment with a man by the name of Brian McKenney, who happens to be, according to Vince McMahon anyway, deaf, engaging in a segment of a match, not the complete match, but a segment of the match with Big John Studd. Studd tosses him around, uses power, uses a bear hug and a backbreaker to gain victory. But I can't imagine, actually I know a couple of referees over the years that I worked with who were deaf or hearing impaired, but Handsome Johnny Bradford was a manager on the independent scene in the late 90s who was partially deaf or completely deaf, I'm not sure, but I know he had severe hearing loss in the tri-state area, but I don't know that there's ever been a hearing impaired referee who made it to a national level or a hearing impaired wrestler who did same. So that's interesting note here. Heenan comes back, obviously says he should be manager of the year, talks about having Patera, talks about having Studd, talks about having the Link and the various members of the family, and how no one is going to be better than the Heenan family here or going forward. Then we see him flouting his money and flaunting his money as we close the program. Uh, I wouldn't say this is a skippable show, but I would certainly say the Corporal Kirshner stuff might be worth a look. The Roddy Piper stuff, if you're into the macabre and the strange, the, that is wrestling just to fill time, that might be worth looking at. I don't really know, but definitely some interesting stuff there. We will continue with our foray into TNT. Please like, comment, subscribe, and get on the bandwagon here at Pro Wrestling Logic. We are going to come out with some merchandise too in the weeks and months to come, so stay tuned for that. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.